The sun hung low on the horizon, casting an orange glow across the ocean. I looked out at the vast expanse of water around me, marveling at its beauty and the sense of endless possibility it held. My friends and I had been planning this boating trip for months, and it was every bit the adventure we'd hoped for. "Hey, you coming in?" called out Danny, waving from the water where he and Emily were floating on their backs, buoyed by life vests. I hesitated. As much as I loved the ocean, a part of me was always aware of its depths, its unknowns, but the sea looked inviting, and I didn't want to be the only one left on the boat. "Sure, why not?" I replied, slipping on my own life vest and jumping in. The water was a refreshing break from the heat. I felt the tension seep out of my muscles as I kicked my feet, floating alongside my friends. "Isn't this the life?" Emily beamed, her eyes closed against the setting sun. "It's perfect," Danny agreed, "although we should head back soon, don't want to be out here after dark." "Scared of the big bad sea monsters?" I teased. "You never know," he shot back with a grin. I was about to make another quip when I felt it, a tug on my leg, sharp, sudden, gone as quickly as it came. "What the—" I began, looking around in confusion. My eyes met Danny's, and I saw a flicker of concern. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah, I think so. Felt like something pulled on my leg, but it's probably just a fish or something." But even as I said it, I knew something was off. The water around us seemed to grow darker, as though absorbing the light from the sky. Danny seemed to sense it too, his face tightening. "Let's head back to the boat," he suggested, his voice tinged with unease. We began swimming, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us, stalking us from the depths below. Every splash seemed amplified, every movement a signal to an unseen predator. And then, just as we were halfway to the boat, I felt it again. A tug, stronger this time, pulling me under for a fraction of a second before releasing me back to the surface. "Did you guys feel that?" I gasped, panic rising in my chest. Before anyone could respond, I saw it, a fin, cutting through the water, circling us at a distance. A shark fin. Adrenaline surged through me. "Get to the boat now," I screamed. We thrashed through the water, our arms pumping and legs kicking with desperate urgency. I dared a glance back and saw the fin getting closer, its movements deliberate and predatory. Just as we reached the boat, I felt an immense force slam into me from below, launching me upward. I hit the water face first, disoriented and terrified. As I struggled to right myself, I felt a searing pain in my leg. I looked down and saw a nightmarish sight. The shark, its jaws clamped around my leg, its eyes cold and emotionless. I screamed, a guttural, primal sound that erupted from deep within me. And in that moment, I knew I was engaged in a life-or-death struggle, from which there would be no easy escape. The pain was blinding, searing through my leg like hot metal. My thoughts fractured, disintegrated, then reformed in a single, primal command. Survive. With a surge of adrenaline-fueled strength, I jabbed my free leg at the shark's underbelly, kicking as hard as I could. The shark let go, and I felt a momentary wave of relief before realizing it was circling back for another attack. "Hold on! We're coming!" Danny shouted, his voice tinged with panic. He and Emily were frantically trying to lower the rescue ladder from the boat, their hands shaking, missing the hooks. I didn't have time to wait. Kicking with my uninjured leg and ignoring the fire in the other, I propelled myself towards the boat. My arms felt like lead, my breaths shallow and quick. Each second stretched into an eternity, each splash a beacon calling the shark back to its prey. Just as my hand gripped the bottom rung of the ladder, I felt it again, a massive force, a wall of muscle and teeth, crashing into me from below. The shark's jaws snapped shut on my injured leg, pulling me downward. "No!" I screamed, my voice bubbling through the water as I was dragged beneath the surface. I gripped the ladder with all my remaining strength, my knuckles white, my fingers slipping. My vision blurred, water filling my eyes, my nose, my mouth. Above me, I saw Danny and Emily leaning over the boat's edge, reaching into the water, their faces twisted in horror and disbelief. And then Danny did something reckless. He dove in, a knife clenched in his hand. Time seemed to freeze as he plunged towards us, his eyes locked onto mine. The shark sensed him and released my leg to turn on this new intruder. Danny swung the knife, striking the shark's flank. The creature roared, an eerie, muffled sound underwater, and darted away, disappearing into the murky depths. Danny grabbed my arm and kicked upwards, pulling us to the surface. Gasping for air, we were hoisted onto the boat by Emily, who was sobbing uncontrollably. The pain in my leg was unbearable, but the sight of it was worse. A mangled mess of torn flesh and muscle. Danny quickly fashioned a tourniquet from a towel, his hands trembling as he worked. "We need to get you to a hospital," Emily said, her voice quivering. "I'm going to call for help." But as she reached for the boat's radio, her face turned ashen. "It's dead. The radio's completely dead." "How is that possible?" Danny exclaimed, his eyes wide with disbelief and fear. I looked at them both and felt a sinking realization. We were stranded, miles away from shore, with a wounded man and a shark lurking beneath us, and as the sky darkened overhead, plunging us into the black of night, another thought entered my mind, one even more terrifying than the shark. What if the creature that attacked me was not acting alone? What if it was just the first of many? As these thoughts swirled in my head, I shuddered, not just from the cold and the pain, but from the dread of the long, perilous night that lay ahead. Emily tried her cell phone next, but there was no signal. We were completely cut off, floating in a small boat on an immense, uncaring sea. Danny riffled through the boat's emergency kit and found flares. He shot one into the rapidly darkening sky, the red light sizzling and popping as it ascended, before eventually winking out, unanswered. "It's going to be okay," Danny said, but his eyes told a different story. Hours passed like years. The pain in my leg had dulled to a constant throb, thanks to a combination of shock and adrenaline. Emily had wrapped it in more towels, but they were soaked through with blood. I needed medical attention, and fast. We took turns keeping watch, though no one could really sleep. Every splash in the water, every ripple and wave, felt like a prelude to another attack. I found myself staring into the ocean, my eyes straining to catch any sign of movement, my ears tuned to the softest sound. It was during one of these vigils that I heard it, a low hum, growing steadily louder. I turned to Danny and Emily, who were huddled together, half asleep, and shook them awake. "Do you hear that?" We all listened, and then Danny leapt to his feet. "It's a boat! It's gotta be!" Rushing to the flare gun, he shot another flare into the sky. This time, the red light was met by another light in the distance, a spotlight, sweeping the ocean before fixing on us. "We're saved," Emily cried out, her voice tinged with disbelief and relief. But as the boat approached, I felt an inexplicable wave of dread. Something wasn't right. The boat was old, its sides roosted, its engine sputtering like it was on its last legs. As it pulled alongside Ooze, a man appeared on deck, his face obscured by a hood. "You folks need some help?" he called out, his voice raspy and distorted. "Please," Danny replied. "Our friend is injured. He needs a hospital." The man nodded and threw over a rope. Danny tied it to our boat, and we were soon being towed by this mysterious savior. As we climbed aboard, I glanced back at our boat and then down at the water below. What I saw made my blood run cold, a fin, followed by another, and then another, cutting through the water, circling our old boat as if saying a final goodbye. Or perhaps a promise to return. On board the stranger's vessel, I finally got a good look at the man. His face was weather-beaten, his eyes a pale gray, almost lifeless. He moved with a limp, as if nursing an old injury. "Thank you for saving us," Emily said, her voice shaky. The man merely grunted and pointed to a makeshift bed. "Lay him there." As Danny and Emily moved to transfer me, the man turned away, and that's when I saw it. A tattoo on the back of his neck, an intricate design of a shark, its jaws open wide as if ready to devour. A chill swept over me. Was our rescue just a stroke of luck, or were we jumping from one horror to another? And most chilling of all, did the sharks follow us, or were they summoned? As the boat chugged its way through the dark water, bound for an unknown destination, I couldn't shake the feeling that our ordeal was far from over. that we had escaped one predator, only to find ourselves in the lair of another.